You asked DeMusliM after the game, he's like, yeah, you just get the tank at the exact nanosecond you need it, no problem. Players are used to that sort of edge that they must deal with in every single matchup. And here MakaPrime is now going for a drop. Looks like MakaPrime realizes he can't be aggressive, and he's actually just going to leave this here right now. He's not going to move in with it yet.
Oh, just kidding.
He is going to move with it just yet.
Like you were saying, here he comes.
Indeed, exactly what I was saying. He's moving in aggressively right now, and he's going to be able to do some serious damage right now.
Ready.
And DeMusliM has nothing in preparation, has to pull all his units back, and running away all those SCVs.
A couple of those SCVs getting trapped there. Now Maka, a very successful drop. They're able to escape unscathed, getting in there, taking down a couple of those SCVs, and just able to pull out that medevac pretty much no problem.
Almost no damage to that at all. A completely clean sweep. He just comes in there, does his damage, and takes off.
Yeah, Maka's really just trying to play a little catch-up at this point, because he did get over there. He saw that expansion was already down, so he really just wants to kind of chip away at DeMusliM until he's able to get back on an even keel and get into position to push again.
And something that's very, very frustrating for players in this spot is that if we look around in DeMusliM's base, he has almost all barracks. In fact, does he even have a starport hidden? There it is, as far back of the base. Well, it would have been hard to do the medevac push at the start of the game without it. Yeah. But indeed, this is going to be very, very difficult to block any of these little medevac drops without good, solid anti-air. And MakaPrime taking advantage of that with these little annoying dropships.
That's going to force him to build the Vikings, which he may not want for a little bit. Now he's got to have them now just to deal with this threat.
Oh, and we actually have a Banshee moving across the map for MakaPrime. He doesn't have cloak research, so he's probably not going to push very far into that at all.
And one Viking does manage to catch the medevac off guard. It looks like that medevac will stay alive. DeMusliM needs to also not lose his Viking. That's a very good exchange there by DeMusliM, freaking his opponent out and bringing that medevac down to orange health.
What a beautiful drop, too, just scattering those Marines as he went. It looked great to get those away. And here comes the Banshee, closing in, doing significant damage to these SCVs.
Oh, wow.
Vikings closing in to take out that Banshee. He's going to get some damage here, but I don't know if it's worth the trade.
And we see MakaPrime doing a very good job, Micro, and that turns away the Banshee just in time to miss that last volley from the Viking. Oh, and we have MakaPrime now coming in, trying to take down the Viking.
DeMusliM takes it down. That's going to be a huge advantage. Going down to the food menu, immediately plunges 10 food down. Poor MakaPrime not feeling too hot at this point in time, but there's the scan. MakaPrime will have tanks up in time, but what DeMusliM wants is just to cause panic in his opponent, force these tanks to siege, force them to fix their location in place, and now he's just moving to wherever those tanks are not.
Yep, and he's got the board control. He's got the advantage. He can do what he wishes here, and he might be. Here he goes, putting the siege tanks in position to protect them, and the Marines going up top. There's a siege tank right there.
Okay, and now we see DeMusliM trying to bait the siege tank shots onto his Marines while he continues to fight up the hill. It looks like it might even be a losing battle for him. Definitely going to be able to take down the tech left. Stops the concussive shot from researching.
That is so key, just picking off those upgrades seconds before they finish. Those upgrades do take a very, very long time to build, far longer than any unit in the game. DeMusliM looked like he was going to try to go for some game-ending drop, but then we see there we now have a Venn diagram of scans on the center of the screen as MakaPrime is trying to defend with tanks. And look, DeMusliM realized that nothing here is actually defended, but is still trying to just put pressure on with those tanks and take the bears out.
Wow, and I'm very surprised that we don't see Maka just pushing up to take them out, or rather to push them back immediately, because he really won't lose that much to only a couple siege tanks and a Marauder.
Yeah, but of course that's the fear. He doesn't know that there really are no units on the Maka camp. You can see that he's feeling under the gun. He sees some units there. He's going to get a Banshee to try to just slowly ease off the pressure. And if you just look at the mini-map in the bottom left, Maka is only out defense.
Yes, he's absolutely covering himself. The Banshee in perfect position now, picking off those siege tanks, regaining control of that position. On the left-hand side, here he comes, pushing in, blasting apart that Terran position. The Marauders using their micro and stim to really just tear up this base.
And now we see DeMusliM trying to move around the backside of those benches. But Maka's just able to get in there far too quick, stimming just a couple times, able to take down the entirety of DeMusliM's army and back. Yep, that's actually a good defense.
Unbelievable.
I mean, that was some amazing macro by Maka. Most of the time when players are under the gun, when they're feeling the pressure, they forget to make units. They get tunnel vision in game. But with that swing around attack by DeMusliM, Maka had way more units than I would have thought. And look at DeMusliM retreating back, and look at this gigantic force. And oh my goodness, 6 siege tanks. If he can fix those outside DeMusliM's base, it is going to be very hard for him to be able to break it.
That's a huge force coming his way. And DeMusliM looking to find up a spot he can take up position so he doesn't lose too much ground. He doesn't be backed up too far. There's the siege tank down, trying to find his position, and the players continue to dance, using their scans. Wow, just stuff going on all over the map. Just look how much these players are microing right now. Look how much is going on. I can barely keep up with it. They're moving all over the map, attacking in 3 and 4 different places at once.
And it's funny to think that MakaPrime was actually falling asleep as we were waiting for this match to start, and he is playing with over 200 actions per minute, lightning fast fingers in the booth to my left, and it looks like mTwDeMusliM is also preparing to take down the destructible rocks, already has a command center, hinting that he does want that juicy, juicy gold expo.
Yeah, it's just going to wait a couple more seconds, maybe, until he's relatively sure. The thing, it's going to be a little dangerous for him to get out there, because right now, MakaPrime does have that right Xel'Naga watchtower, which means that it's not too far from him being able to go over there and possibly see these SCVs wander into that vision.
Yep.
Ooh.
You can see on the army tab, they're fairly consistent in their army. They're almost exactly the same count right now on their army resources. Both these players showing a very similar side force right now. So this is anybody's game. They're dead even right now in terms of army.
And it looks like a drop by mTwDeMusliM. Oh, it's greeted by the drop of MakaPrime. But mTwDeMusliM is, of course, in the significantly better spot. He's going to drop by here. And look at how far away the army of Maka is. Oh, it's caught totally out of position. He's going to be able to take out the reactor. Reactors take so long to build, and he's going to pick off these Marines. If he can eliminate that factor, it's going to be huge. It's at 200 hit points, 150, and it...
Oh, and down it goes!
And he does manage to retreat. You know what's the best part about a drop? That you can run away.
You can get away when it's done. And with... Oh, well, maybe you can't. And here's the Vikings looking for some revenge, closing for the kill. You know he's got to be feeling good about that payback. And here comes another drop, moving on the other side of the map. Maka landing a couple of Marines in here to gauge these workers, trying to clean off some of these gas workers to try to get some kind of economic advantage.
Yeah, this is not a big committal drop by Maka. He knows this is risky, but he's going to bring in just enough Marines to do a little bit of damage. He doesn't want to load up that many units. And of course, just target firing those SCVs to get as many kills as he can. If you look at the upgrades, mTwDeMusliM and his opponent Maka are both at 1-1 ground upgrades. Even though they're getting a lot of tanks, they know if you just look at the map, huge, wide, spread out open spaces, Marines, Marauders work well in those areas, not tanks. So they do want to keep those ground. Oh yes, look at this, 2-1 upgrades right now for mTwDeMusliM.
And it looks like Maka's gone for the sensor tower. Grabbing that high yield expansion, that sensor tower allows him to see everything that moves underneath that giant ring you can see there on the mini-map. You can see everything that's going on right now, so you can see these forces closing in. It allows him to siege his siege tanks and make a decision. Wow, focus firing on that tank, doing terrible, terrible damage to that frontline unit. And here the forces close in as the Terran forces are blasting each other to pieces right around this unbelievably critical choke point.
It was actually a surprisingly even trade so far. Right now we do have MakaPrime might be able to pick up a couple more mTwDeMuslim tanks. Oh, bringing in some Vikings. We also see mTwDeMuslim losing a couple of Vikings. And it looks like mTwDeMuslim might be going for a bit of a flank if he's going to be willing to take down those destructible rocks. He's now cut his army in half. This is pretty bad news for mTwDeMuslim.
Yeah, MakaPrime has a lot of SCVs vulnerable here, but it looks like mTwDeMusliM is determined to break through here. We also see 3-2 upgrades being researched, and here he comes in to the backside. And MakaPrime caught at a terrible angle. And now Maka's trying to pull back, but it looks like some buildings will be lost by mTwDeMusliM. But an unusual amount of Marines from Maka are going to be able to clean this up nicely. Wow.
Oh yeah, easily going to fight back mTwDeMusliM there. He's going to be forced back down that ramp. Now I'm actually surprised that we didn't see mTwDeMusliM also try to kind of have a vault in front. Oh man, and we see mTwDeMusliM pushing back in, trying to take that down. It's looking like those Marines just might go down. There is a lot of medevacs there, and we don't see Maka with anything able to heal and support his units. And now back in the center of the map, all of those tanks are getting taken down. mTwDeMusliM doing a very good job pushing through that, taking down. Oh, and we see Maka even pulling SCVs.
Oh wow. My goodness.
Unbelievable. What a glorious game.
Wow. Now, in a situation where I thought that, like, Maka was, you know, getting defended pretty well, mTwDeMusliM ended up making a very unexpected, super well-coordinated push.
Yeah. I mean, exactly what we saw from mTwDeMusliM there is very similar to also how Phoenix plays. You just keep poking and prodding at your opponent, and all of a sudden, they will accidentally leave their siege tanks completely undefended, or accidentally leave their base completely undefended. So you notice mTwDeMusliM was just moving carefully, and then in one swift motion, just crushed everything so quickly. Very crisp.
What was so exciting about that, it wasn't just about the units, it was about the psychology. He was absolutely outthinking his opponent, hitting him in several places at once, causing him to split his forces. It was almost more about position than the troops that were actually engaged. It was just really forcing his opponent to be off guard, unprepared, and just couldn't react to all the different attacks coming from multiple directions at once.
Definitely. It's even interesting to note the players were almost making the exact same units. Their army counts were not only the same food,
almost everything was identical.
Same resources, and literally they were just like mirrored on the unit
Upgrades
tab.
popping at almost exactly the same time.